Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time of day it is when you're finally getting around to watching this podcast. And I got to tell you, if you're a golfer, you're going to love the fact that you tuned in for this one. My special guest today is Bill Hogan, who is the Business Development Officer for Premier Golf. And Premier Golf is something that if you are a golfer and happen to have any interest whatsoever in playing golf other than at your own course or club, you're going to want to hear what Bill has to say. So, Bill, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you,
Well,
Rodney.
good
I've been
afternoon.
looking forward to this, and it's great to meet some of your followers.
Yeah, Bill and I ran into each other at a huge meeting in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. And as soon as I saw him and what he was doing, I said, we need to talk.
Yeah, it was a great conference we had there in Las Vegas, and it's great to meet so many high-quality travel advisors such as you and the people within your firm.
Well, Bill and Premier Golf are all about luxury golf travel pretty much the world over. So, Bill, tell us a little bit about what Premier does.
Yeah, so we're a company that sets up golf packages and golf tours and also events. So if somebody wants to go to the Masters or the Open Championship, or maybe your foursome wants to go play golf in Ireland, or maybe you have, 8 people from your club and you want to go to Pebble Beach in the Napa Valley. We do all the arrangements for you and make it very easy, kind of one-stop shopping to put together your bucket list trip.
So what's the most exciting trip that you can recall so far?
Well, that's a tough question. I've been doing this now for 36 years. So probably my favorite golf trip, if I had to take one more golf trip in my life, it would probably be a South Africa golf safari. Because,
Really?
Yes, it's very exotic. But when you get down to South Africa, the weather is great. The people are wonderful. You have the whole food and wine culture that goes back a long time. The golf courses are off the charts. I mean, people don't realize how many really great golf courses are in South Africa. And then when you combine it with the safari component, it's just off the charts,
Well, most people would never think about going to South Africa to play golf either, but there's some incredible courses there.
There are incredible courses there, from the links at Fancourt where they had the President's Cup years ago, all around the Stellenbosch and Paro Valleys, up the Garden Route along the coast, just outside of Kruger National Park. I mean, there's all kinds of great golf courses, but what really caps it off is the safari element at the beginning or end of your trip.
I would say so, having been to Africa a number of times myself. So, Bill, I know that a number of the people that are watching this would probably love to have your job. How in the world did you get into this really high level of golf, especially all over the globe?
That's a great question, Rodney, and I'm asked that often. So it was funny. Go back to 1988, and I was just out of grad school, and I was working for United Airlines actually as an analyst. And so I was, trying to find procedures and things that they were doing at the maintenance operations center in San Francisco. And my dad came to me and said, "Oh, I'm going on a golf trip with my guys from the club. We're going to go over to Ireland and Scotland and play all these great courses and blah, blah, blah." So it kind of piqued my interest. I was a golfer since I was a little kid, obviously. And so I went and looked at his brochure and I said, "Oh, wow, this company's located right down the road in Carmel. So I think I'll go introduce myself." I put on a suit, which is very un-Carmel. I put on a suit and tie and walked into the office, and I was probably the only person within 25 miles that had a suit and tie on.
Yeah.
And so I went in and introduced myself. And the fella who was running the company at the time was called Wide World of Golf. And his name was Michael C. Rossetto, Mike Rossetto. And he was kind of a legend in the golf travel industry. He was the first guy to really do this type of stuff. And he started in 1957. So I came in the door and he said, "Hey, we talked for about an hour, hour and a half." He said, "Why don't you come back tomorrow?" And funny story, I come back tomorrow, suit and tie on again, walk into the office in downtown Carmel. And Mike offers me a job right on the spot. He goes, "Look, my right-hand man, Mr. Reynolds, just left. I'd love to see if, somebody could step in and help me out with stuff." And he said, "Besides, do you have a valid passport?" I go, "Yeah, my passport's good." "Okay, good, because we're leaving to New Zealand and Australia on Friday for a month." So he was in a panic. He had a guy who had just left the company the week before, and he had two groups back to back doing Australia and New Zealand. And he said, "Can you go? Are you free for the next month?" I said, "I'm in." I didn't know what I was going to get paid. I didn't know if I had any benefits,
Yeah.
whatever, but I was going to New Zealand and Australia for a month, and that's all I cared about. And so that was in 1988, and here I am, 36 and a half
36 years later.
still doing
Wow.
it. Yeah. I ended up buying that company, and then I ended up selling that company to Premier Golf, where I sit today.
That's a great story. And I'll tell you, I always told my children when they were growing up, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So obviously you made a great first impression on that gentleman to get the job on the spot. Do you think it
Yeah.
was the coat and tie?
The daughter's the coat and tie was probably more of the fact that I'd lived in Europe for 4 years. I was pretty well traveled for my age, and I knew golf, and I knew I was pretty passionate about golf. So I think it was just a good fit, and I've always been kind of a people person. So I think that's probably more of it.
Yeah, yeah. So Bill, I call you up and I say, I got 16 guys that want to go to Ireland and or Scotland for a golf trip. Can you walk us through what happens from that phone call until they get back home? I know that's a
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it starts off. So I start asking a couple questions on the group. I try to get a good feel what they're accomplished. So you'll have different groups of guys, right? You'll have some
right.
people that are going over and they're real hardcore golfers. They want to do 18 one day, 36 the next. They want to move around, get as many of the top 100 courses as they can in a trip, and they really go, go, go. And we kind of call those kind of the commando golfers. They want to get as much in as they can. But there's other groups that, hey, I want to do, 2 days of golf. Then one day, let's do some sightseeing, go see some things, maybe go to a soccer game or whatever the case may be. So you kind of get a feel for what the group is. Then you got to come down to what type of hotels do they like, right? So there's good, better, or best accommodations. You could say anything from a 3-star guest house to a 5-star, 6-star castle type experience. And when you break it down, the ground transportation, whether you have a bus and driver or a chauffeured van or a self-drive rental car, whatever it happens to be, that all costs the same. The golf courses all cost the same. Doesn't matter where you're staying. The only difference in the price of your trip at the end of the day is where you sleep at night. And people who've been over there enough know that you don't spend that much time in your room when you're in a golf trip.
Right,
You get up
right.
early, take a shower, you go have breakfast, you're out running around all day playing golf. Then you go to a pub or whatever it happens to be in the afternoon. And the next day you rinse and repeat. So, I try to get a feel for where they want to spend the night and how much moving around they want to do. It's also important that you're not checking in and checking out of hotels every day. You want to get to know the town a little bit. You don't want to go into St.
Right.
Andrews for one day. You want to go in there and spend a few days, get to know the town a little bit, the pubs, the restaurants, go to do the shops and the museums. So I usually consult people to take it easy, don't move around too much, make it a vacation, because the worst thing you do is when you get back, you need a vacation from your vacation
Right,
because you're
right.
so exhausted. Most guys aren't accustomed to walking 5 to 10 miles a day on the golf courses, which you do primarily when you're overseas. Not every place has carts. And so I want to make sure they don't try to cram too much in and really get an enjoyable vacation.
So I show up with 15 of my best friends. Where are my golf clubs? Where are my shoes? How does all that happen?
So normally, or we have our own offices overseas in Ireland and Scotland and Spain and Portugal and England. And so usually there's somebody besides the driver who meets you and gets you situated. You can often keep a lot of your equipment, and the driver will help you move it from, if you want to keep it in your room or you want to keep it in the golf bag storage area down in the lobby of the hotel, or whatever the case may be. So we try to assist with as much as that as possible. But some people like to sleep with their clubs at night, or they want to clean them at night, or do whatever it is. Different people have different ways they go about it. But we try to make it as seamless and easy for people as possible. And that's the way we kind of look at things. It's as at the end of the day, it's a service industry. So anybody can make a tee time and a hotel reservation. We try to take it to the next level, and with the sightseeing, with the restaurant recommendations and reservations, and trying to make it really easy for people that they kind of know what they're doing every day, and they know it's going to be good quality.
Well, with all the places around the world you can play golf, and Premier offers most, if not all of them, are there any really new and exciting places that we should know about? You touched on South Africa, but beyond that?
There are, and that's a great question. One of them, for instance, is Greece. People don't think of Greece and golf destination or resorts or anything like that. Until a few years ago, there really wasn't. There were a couple. There's, of course, in Rhodes and here and there and outside of Athens. But there's a new resort in Greece called Costa Navarino. It's about 6 miles from end to end, believe it or not. A Greek shipping magnate had his legacy as he wanted to build something in the region where he grew up in Messina, near the town of Kalamata, where they grow all the olives. And so he built 4 golf courses and 4 resorts. And we're not just talking golf courses and resorts. We're talking Mandarin Oriental, W, Romanos Luxury Collection, and a Westin. Beautiful resorts with multiple restaurants. There's over 40 restaurants at this place. Multiple swimming pools, spas. They have an NBA basketball academy, all kinds of incredible things. And the 4 golf courses, I tried to explain to people that I think he sent people over to the best of the American resorts, or the best of the country club, and said, what do they do there service level wise to make sure that this place is really going to hit the mark? And so they have people that come around with cold towels on the golf course because it is Greece and they can get warm. They have perfect practice facilities. The golf courses are always in excellent condition. The greens run fast. They're cut every day. Things that we do in America, we take for granted, but it isn't always the case when you travel overseas. So they've got the service levels down to a T. The golf courses are all really good. They have the Olympic course. They have the Hills course. My favorite is the Bay course, a Robert Trent Jones Jr. course. Every single hole has a view of the Navarino Bay, which is just gorgeous. And so this place alone in Greece, if you learn nothing else from this podcast, that's Costa Navarino is really a fantastic new resort. I mean, we're featuring it heavy, and we've been selling a lot of it lately. So it's
you said 6 miles end to end. Are you talking about the town?
No, from one resort at the Mandarin Oriental to the other one, which is the Romanos Luxury Collection. There's 6 miles in between. They have free shuttles. There's beaches. There's beachfront restaurants. There's everything. Now, there's some other stuff in between it, but he's basically stretched it out to the best parts of this beautiful long coastline along Costa Navarino Bay.
So is it one of those situations where if you're staying at one of his resorts, you can play at the other courses?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, so that's a golfer's dream.
You can use it is a golfer's dream, yeah.
Yeah.
And they shuttle the everything. They take your golf. So if you're playing on the Bay course this morning, and tomorrow you're playing on the Olympic course, the next day you get to the Olympic course on the shuttle. Your clubs are already set up. They're on the cart. It's all ready to go. The carts have all the bells and whistles with the GPS and everything. It's really first class.
And how far is that from Athens?
It's about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive, depending on how aggressive your driver is. But it's a beautiful drive. You go over the Corinth Canal, etc. But you can also fly right into Kalamata there's some 25 gateways that fly into Kalamata Airport throughout Europe. But if you're coming from America. Most of the nonstops going to Athens, and they meet you with brand new Mercedes vans with big captain's chair. It's first class all the way, and it's Greece, so it's affordable. It's not like what you might expect paying for some 5-star experiences in Scotland, for instance, where things can be more expensive. So it's I check it out. I mean, Costa Navarino in Greece is spectacular. It's really great.
Okay, so that's certainly one destination that should be on probably most people's bucket list. Do you guys do anything around the UK area when the Open is going on, where you can play some golf and then go to the Open?
Absolutely, every year we're one of the Royal Nation Golf Club has approved a certain amount of vendors who are approved to sell Open Championship tickets and hospitality, et cetera. We are one of those. And so we always have every Open Championship. This year it happens to be, or in 2025, I'd say the next edition will be at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland, one of the best links courses in the world, one of the most beautiful places. And we have packages where you can go there, just view the tournament for a few days, but 90% of the people will bring their golf clubs, and they play before, during, and after the tournament. So a common thread is maybe you arrive on Wednesday, you play golf on Thursday, Friday you go to the Open, and you get to see all the players before the cut. So if you wanted to see Tiger or somebody playing and you're not sure if they're going to make the cut, you see them for sure on Friday. Saturday you play golf again at some nearby course like Ballylifton or Port Stewart or something like that. And then Sunday go to the final round. And we take it one step further too, Rodney, is that we do we have our own hospitality venue. This year at Portrush, it's immediately across the street from the clubhouse, so it couldn't be any more convenient. And we have in there drink and food and special guests. Last year we had John Daly in there do a Q&A session. It was really entertaining. We've had Rich Beam, who does broadcasting in Europe, and he's of course from here in Texas. And but we always have something like that. We have music. It's really great for people afterwards to go and before, during, or after the tournament to relax a little bit and have fun.
When we go to the Masters, I'm from Arkansas, and of course John Daly is too. And John Daly is always at Hooters in Augusta.
Right.
They even put it on the marquee out front. And this year when I walked in, he raised his hand and said, "Everybody, get quiet for just a second. I want to let you know Arkansas is in the house." He still doesn't know my name, but he knows I'm from Arkansas. And exactly. If you've never hung out with John Daly, that's quite a treat.
Oh, yeah, he's a hoot. We had him also a couple years ago. The Open was at Hoylake or Royal Liverpool, and he came in to do his 45-minute Q&A session on the stage and entertaining all the customers. He ended up staying for about 3 hours, having beverages and talking and taking pictures with everybody. He's really a great guy. But when you get personalities and you get to meet them in person, they're not what you just think or hear about them on television or something like that. They're regular people like everybody else.
He's a good guy. He's had his ups and downs throughout his career, personally and physically and everything else, but he's still a fun guy. Which, by the way, speaking of the Masters, that's something else you do. And that's a little more tightly regulated than I think you're probably finding. You're an approved vendor at the Open, but how's that work at the Masters? Because they're pretty tight with everything there.
They are. They police it pretty heavily, but for years we and our partner company, which is Your Golf Travel out of England, we've had Masters packages, and so we provide hotel, ground transportation, so nobody has to drive. Like the Open Championship, we have our own hospitality facility in Augusta, where we bring everybody in. They have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We have entertainment, speakers, etc. And we shuttle them right up to the gates of Augusta National Golf Club. So we make it really easy for people, really seamless, and take it from, again, it's just not a ticket and a hotel thing. We go the extra yard and we have various different packages where you can go anywhere for the whole week, which not many people do, to 1 or 2 days and watch the Masters. You can play golf in the area as well, but it's really about going in there and seeing it with your own 2 eyes and how beautiful
Well, those
and
of
how
you
much
who
fun.
count your steps will certainly get your steps in at Augusta National and then some, because there's not a level place on that field. It's up and down hills all day long.
That's right. But the beauty of it too at Augusta National is that they have grandstand seating open to pretty much everybody anywhere. So if you go and you find a seat in the grandstand, sit there for an hour and a half and watch groups come by. If you get there early in the morning, you buy one of the Augusta folding chairs. You put it
Right.
out by, say, by the 18th green. When you come back at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's sitting there. Nobody's moved it. Nobody's touched it. You can sit down and watch the last of the groups that come through. So probably the most educated, best behaved fans in the world of golf these days
It
is
truly
at
is.
Augusta
And
National.
I've seen people not asked to leave. I've seen people thrown out for simple things like running on the golf course or hollering. I mean, it is a sophisticated environment, which is as it should be. The only thing I don't like about Augusta is that you can't take your camera with you to get all those great shots that you see all week long.
But you can, Rodney, in the practice rounds. So
Practice rounds, yes, you can. Yes.
If you go Monday through Wednesday, and
Wednesday.
Wednesday, of course, is the par 3 tournament, you can bring your camera and take it. You got to turn the phone part off so it doesn't ring and things. But yeah, you can take all the pictures that you want, or you can come in the weekend before, and they have the ladies tournaments, on the Saturday, Sunday, the weekend before. So there's ways you can get in there and take photographs, and there is no more photogenic course
No,
and
none.
that you can find it, especially
No.
when the azaleas are in bloom and everything. It's spectacular.
Yeah,
It really is.
it's as beautiful in person as it looks on TV. For those of you who haven't had the chance to go there,
Correct.
if you had a crystal ball, Bill, and you could take one more golf trip, it's like in City Slickers where Jack Palance goes, that one thing. If you could take that one more golf trip, and you knew it was going to be your last golf trip, where would it be to and why?
That's interesting. So a couple different ways to answer that question, Rodney. I would probably say I'd want to take my family, and we would do the South Africa safari thing. Build in,
Interesting.
14 to 18, 20 days or something like that. Do a couple different safari camps. I always wanted to go gorilla trekking in Rwanda, which would be a side venture, of course, but I always thought that would be fantastic. So I'd play all the great places, go to the wine estates, go to the beaches, go out and do all the things that you would do when you go to South Africa. They're all taglines there. South Africa is a whole world in one country. And it
Yeah.
really sets the tone because you could do everything there. It's fantastic. But for me, my bucket list at this stage would be a trip throughout Japan. And that might surprise some people. But first of all, Japan has some of the most gorgeous golf courses. I think they have 5 courses ranked in the world top 100. And it's the whole experience when you play golf in Japan too. You go and they have the baths and the multiple meals, and it's a full day thing. You don't just go play 18, get a hot dog, and take off. It's a full day experience,
Right.
and they're treated like kings. But the food in Japan, most people don't realize that there's more Michelin star restaurants in Tokyo than any other city in the world. Most people would assume Paris or New York or London or something like that. It's Tokyo that has, the best restaurants in the world. And then the people there, it's very, very, very gentle, friendly, and there's not a safer place that you can be than in Japan. There's
Probably not.
yeah, there's no crime. It's just a great place to visit. So probably my bucket list trip, if I could only do one more, would probably be an extensive trip through Japan.
That's interesting. And I was in Japan a couple of years ago for 2 weeks, and you're right. There's not a nicer country to visit as far as the people. They're friendly. They have such pride in everything that they do. I was told that if you have a fender bender in your car, you can't even drive it on the streets and highways of Japan until it's properly repaired. You don't walk down the street drinking your Starbucks coffee because they will stare you down because that's considered impolite. You eat and drink while you're seated and not walking around. I actually had to throw a cup of coffee away because I was told that everyone was staring me down at. And I thought, well, it doesn't matter to me. And the people in the group goes, well, it's kind of embarrassing. You should get rid of that.
Yeah. And the thought there, Rodney, is what if you spilled it and then it would make a mess on the ground? Or if you were to bump
Exactly.
into somebody and it spills on them, then that's, so they really respect, looking after each other. And if you ever went on some of those trains in Japan and you get on a train, you see the picture of people cram in there.
No, I've been
But
on that train.
they're so polite. I mean, there's never any pushing or shoving. They're just very nice, and you sit there and everybody's,
Since you brought the train up, the interesting thing is that train stops for like 37 seconds. And the people that get off, and the people that get on, and it takes off. I've forgotten where we traveled from, but we were going to Tokyo, and it was a 2-hour and 3-minute trip. And we were 13 seconds early. They don't measure, but we were 13 seconds early.
Yeah.
And they said they're always within 25 to 30 seconds of when they're supposed to be at the destination.
Yeah, it's very efficient. Yeah,
which is amazing.
Efficient.
Well, listen, the world of golf takes on a whole new meaning with you guys because it truly is the world. And for our clients that are watching this podcast, if you truly want, shall we say, bragging rights and the ability to go back to your course and your club and the guys or the gals that you play with and have some bragging rights, you need to give us a call so that we can get you over to Premier Golf for the golf trip of your dreams.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of places. We touched a little bit on Japan and South Africa and Scotland and Ireland. Some of the most exciting places are new places to go to for not new necessarily, but new great golf destinations. Portugal, for instance.
Yes.
There's a course in Portugal that not many people know about because it just really opened last year. And it's called Dunas Comporta. And it's kind of between about an hour south of Lisbon and an hour and a half north of the Algarve, for instance. Kind of in that middle area there. It might be the best golf course in continental Europe. It's a David McClay Kidd course. It opened last year. It's a big, grand piece of property up and down these sand dunes through these beautiful pine trees. And Dunas Comporta is one of the best golf courses you can play now in Europe, and it's open to the general public. They're going to build a hotel.
Americans have a keen interest in Portugal and have had for several years now. So if you haven't been to Portugal, you're missing a great opportunity to see some great golf courses.
Absolutely.
And by the way, this is an excellent multi-generational trip where grandpa's going and your son or daughter are going and the golfing grandkids are going. I can't think of anything more memorable that you could possibly do than take your children and grandchildren on one of these golf extravaganzas to one of the special places on earth and play golf for 7, 10, 14 days and create some memories that will live on long after you're gone.
Absolutely. And I was fortunate to do that myself. So my father and my brothers and some of my nephews, we've gone on golf trips around the world. We've been to Scotland and Ireland and Bandon Dunes in Oregon. And that is really something. And just lost my dad a couple of years ago, but some of the fondest memories I have are some of our golf trips that we did, because that's just, and the photographs, I have some here in my office. That's stuff you just don't ever forget.
You don't. I think of my dad often. Some of the best times we ever had together were on a golf course. I still remember one of the last times we played golf together, and he passed away a couple of years ago as well. He showed up at the golf course with a fanny pack on. And I said, Dad, if we're going to play golf, you cannot wear that. And he goes, why? It's got all my stuff in it. And I go, you can wear it any other time, but you're not going to wear that at my country club and playing golf with me. And what I would give, Bill, to have the chance to play golf with my dad again with his fanny pack on.
Yeah, exactly. You'd put up with it now, wouldn't you? If you
I would totally put up with it. You're absolutely right. Just one more round of golf, Dad. Which reminds me of a story that two guys were discussing whether or not there'd be golf in heaven. And so they made a deal with each other about whoever got there first would somehow get a message back to the survivor. So a few years later, one of the guys passes away. And about a week later, he appears in a vision to his best friend. And he goes, Larry, I got to heaven, and I've got good news and bad news. And he said, well, what's the good news? And he says, there is golf in heaven. And he goes, well, what's the bad news? He goes, you've got a tee time this Friday.
Yeah, wake up. Well, that's, if nothing else, that teaches you, you gotta use your days, what you can, and in travel. I mean, what did we learn from 9/11 or the pandemic? If you could do it now, I recommend people do it, because there's no guarantee of tomorrow. And you want to do that trip with your grandsons to Bandon Dunes or Pebble Beach, do it now, because
if
who knows?
Something comes through my mind, I go do it, because I'm in the fourth quarter. And you know how games go in the fourth quarter. Most of them are won or lost, and I plan on winning and leaving a lot of memories for my kids and grandkids. So I'll close the way we always do here, and that is that no matter what you're doing, no matter how important you think it is, there's nothing more important than spending time with your family, and this is a great way to do it. And I want everyone out there to enjoy yourself, because it truly is later than you think. Bye for now, Bill. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.